Welcome to another episode of Read the Room, bro. How are you?
You know me, I'm just living the dream out here in the mild Arizona. It's starting to finally smell like fall, so I am looking forward to
Nice.
it. It's football season, scary
Excellent.
movies, costumes, got a wedding coming up. I mean, it's all tens across the board. It's tits for me right now, dude.
Excellent. So life is what you're saying. Life moves on day to day, right?
Moves on. That is true, and I think sometimes that message gets lost in our shows. I've
hmm
gotten some feedback on some of our shows, and while incredibly informative, um, there's so much doom and gloom out there that sometimes we do have to take a step back and remind people that yes, life will go on. We
Yes.
don't know what that life will look like. For all we know, it could be America getting knocked down to number two, a civil war. We don't know. But that being said, with worst case scenarios, some of us, like me and you, will still make life happen. It'll still be
Right.
happy. We'll still find a way to
Find
move
some
forward.
sunshine behind the clouds,
Yes,
right?
there is
Yeah.
sunshine behind the clouds.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, the republic will endure regardless. So yeah, we will invect that going forward on a consistent basis. Don Juan, I know you're there in the audience, bro. Knock and join us, my brother, when you get a second. So I was particularly struck by the hubris of Joe Rogan endorsing Kamala Harris. And the cynical part of myself said, what's really behind that? Um, his ego or his concern that if 45 becomes oh, Don, do it again. I just knocked you out of there, buddy. Sorry, man. If 45 becomes 47, are he and Elon Musk, True Social and Elon Musk, going to buy Spotify? And I want to get your take on that.
Yeah, well, did he endorse her? I haven't seen anything on that. I mean, I know he said that she did a good job in her debate, but I haven't seen anything where he says I'm voting for Kamala. If anything, he's
The
kind of made it
the
clear that
media is reporting that. I'll put it that way.
yeah, I doubt that. Um, Maybe he does, but I really don't give two shits. He's a RFK Jr. guy. I know they're little tic tac
Yeah,
to do with
right. They said that. Yeah.
him. He was an RFK Jr. fan. Robbie went on his show a bunch of times, so it made sense. Keep in mind, Rogan's. I mean, he could go for Kamala. He's kind of nutty. Like I like Rogan. He's entertainment. He could think outside of the box. Would I want him handling
hmm
the economy? A guy that endorses Bernie Sanders.
No.
He's one
Right.
of three free thinking Hollywood types that lives on a planet
Right.
of their own making, and he's richer than he's a success story that should have never been. Like he was a mid tier C level comic. Like he was running the circuit, no doubt.
Yeah. He was in the sea level comedian
Was on a
school. Yeah.
TV show, had a
Yep.
very small spot on a good show called News Radio, where he was overshadowed by Andy
Right,
Dick, of all people, and that Canadian
right.
dude from Gibson Hall, who was fantastic, by the way. I
the
love,
Bette
I love,
Midler of males.
yeah, I love News Radio, but he had Fear Factor, which kind of put him on the map, and then UFC, and
Yeah. Yeah.
he's your typical anti-establishment type. Like he's going to do the opposite of whatever the establishment is. Why he would, if what you're saying is that you're getting reports from your people that he's going to vote for Kamala, I haven't heard in his podcasts anything that says he is. Like
Okay. All right.
he's given her a big thumbs up on the debate, saying that she nailed it. She fucking nailed it. He, as in Donald Trump, was unprepared. Um, which basically all the things I said. Like, yes,
Yeah.
back down Kamala. Uh, if she did just that debate like that and then decided she was going to actually be a candidate and talk policy, maybe she could get away with it. But the ruse is up, and her debate just looks like more of the same. So it's
All
definitely
right.
not aging well.
Don, what do you? What's your take on that? Because I always look for the business angle and why somebody with 129 million, viewers is, is they're looking out for the bottom line, as in how do they preserve this little fiefdom empire that they've built.
Well, I just wonder which country is Joe Rogan going to move to after November 5th? Got
Right.
all that money. I mean, you know, I, when these guys, and I don't care really which side you're on necessarily, but celebrity endorsements, I'm sorry, just never made it for me. And I think Trump is proving that that doesn't necessarily have to work. It's
Yep.
voters, it's common folks, it's people who work for a living. I'm not disparaging what the guy, he's made a success of himself. Congratulations. Why should I care what he thinks about who should be the next president? I mean, but these people have these outsized egos to believe that their celebrity grants them so much influence, and
Hmm.
I just think voters make their choices without thinking about that stuff.
Yeah,
All
like
right.
if
Well,
I
I'm with
hear
Pharrell Williams on this one. It's like, who asked you, right?
Yeah,
nobody cares for Pharrell. You haven't been I haven't been a fan of yours since you were in the Neptunes. Shout out to the Neptunes. Great, great
wow.
production. But like Joe Rogan, okay, from a business standpoint, like he's hurting himself. Like most of the
Yeah.
people listening to him are Trump fans.
Hmm.
Nobody that's a Kamala Harris fan is listening to Joe Rogan. A.
Nope.
Nobody that's a Kamala Harris fan is a fan of UFC. Like, if I want to hear about polar ice cap vectors moving or hear from a scientist who says Mayans are actually aliens, I'll tune into Joe Rogan or listen to his sound bites. Like, I can honestly say I've never listened to his show ever.
Right.
I have seen,
Right.
but you know, he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that he's an average thinking guy, I guess. I don't know. He might be a little out there.
Look, I've always appreciated comedians' insight into society and culture, things of that nature. No different, really, from any other artists, especially ones who are truly accomplished. Um, but they have a shelf life and a limitation because the scope of their ability to understand things even larger than the space they might occupy is limited. So, what I mean by that, Bill Maher, same example, right? You can think through something to its practical end number and go, yep, that's it, and get within the second or third ring of the bullseye, right, where it makes common sense. That doesn't mean it's going to end up that way or that it is practically even a part of reality. And so when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's cute. What are you trying to preserve here, and what are you afraid of?" Because after a national election, there's a lot of M&A activity. There's a lot of buyout, sellout activity, a lot of movement, and the social media and digital media world is continuing to Pac-Man and eat away at the traditional media of movies, television, content, left and right. I mean, look at Skydance just gave Sherry Redstone $10 billion for her stake in Universal. So they're going to do what Ted Turner did 25,
Hmm.
almost 30 years ago, buy out the MGM library and try to build out a studio, right? Well, we're just doing it in the digital world now.
Mhm.
So I see that as a potential motivation. I could be 100% wrong.
I mean, you might be right too. If I looking from a business standpoint, y- one of the things I can think of is maybe Rogan. There was all sorts of movements in the past to get him kicked off of Spotify because of his
Right.
Mhm.
Ivermectin stance, and
Yep.
the guy said a lot of things that I agree with societally, and I don't necessarily disagree with his take on the debate because I saw the same thing. Um, Trump was
Right.
endorsed and he wasn't calm. And, whatever. That's Trump. Sometimes he does that, and that's just what you get with him. But he maybe is trying to make himself more financially palatable if he's trying to get another deal with Spotify, be like, "Look, I'm not a Trumper. So I just said something positive about Kamala, so you should keep me around even longer and keep paying me the hundreds of millions of dollars or else I'm going to leave." Like, I don't think he wants to go into that Tucker Carlson space.
Hmm.
Like Tucker Carlson was the biggest thing and he's still fairly relevant, but let's be honest. Tucker Carlson was literally mentioned as like a top 3 candidate to run for president, odds in Vegas, like a year ago. When do you hear Tucker Carlson's name anymore? Like, he's irrelevant. He's not in the mainstream media. Like, unless you're a fan of his, you're going to listen to what he says, but he's not Tucker. Like, you don't hear Democrats talking about Tucker Carlson anymore the way they used to. I could be wrong, but what do you think, Don?
Well, when he was left Fox, I'll put left in quotes. Um, the thinking was it's this evolving digital space, and that he could dominate that much as he had traditional, television. You're right. It's just there's just too many voices, faces out there, and he just doesn't stand out amongst the crowd like he did when he was on Fox. That's just a fact. Now, again, I hear from him, and occasionally I'll pick up something he's done on the internet. But it's like, if I can't tune into you in some form or fashion, either at a specified time or whatever, to know what I'm going to get, I'm not going to watch that often. I just don't.
And his shows
Maybe.
are
Yep.
boring. They're
Yeah.
podcasts now.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
at least
Mhm.
with the shows on Fox, they showed clips. They used,
Right.
like, it's one of the things that I want to inject into our shows is instead of it just being a bunch of guys talking, give some format, give some background. We need to put clips of some of the events that we're talking about because
Hmm.
as of now, it's just people doing this. And some people like that when they're in cars. I get it. That's how most people listen to podcasting is on their way to work or when they're working, et cetera, et cetera. But he has lost that bite. You know what I mean? Like, I try to watch his shows, and they're like an hour long of him just kind of
God,
talking.
some of them are longer than that. Then
Yeah.
they're like snoozer,
Yeah,
right?
just
Yeah.
they're
So you got to have some production value. So
his laugh.
Right.
well, if you're doing that, then maybe he did endorse Kamala. Who the heck knows, right?
Yeah.
But I was looking at it from that angle as well as, the guy is out there and he's puffed up and, so he's got an ego and he's got a huge following and all that kind of stuff. So he's up there kind of in the ether thinking that his opinion actually matters. And
So
I
have you
was
heard?
also struck. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut in.
No,
So
that's all right.
heard from people that he said personally that he's going to endorse Kamala?
I read it in a news story about 4 days ago, and I was like, all right, and I'm like, okay, so where's the statement? Because I
Right.
haven't seen it, right?
Okay,
But
because
it was um, a, a a short arm around the shoulder of Harris, and I'm like, okay, does he actually mean it,
yeah,
right? I'm like, you know what? We're just going to take that on and see what we can figure out about it
I
uh,
would be
here on Read the Room.
personally shocked if he does it. He might be just trying to get his name back in the news.
Hmm.
You haven't heard much about Joe Rogan. I mean,
Nope.
and look at all the headlines. Like I opened up Joe Rogan and every single publication, Rogan Trump, Rogan and Rogan gives Kamala the thumbs up. Rogan on Trump's debate. Rogan's on, there's 100 articles. Now all of a sudden Joe Rogan is trending. And all because he said thumbs up, you know? And
Right.
he's still got relevance. Like obviously he's Joe Rogan and people like him, people listen to him. There's a reason that he's as much of a moneymaker. But I can't imagine him uh being such a fan of RFK Jr. and then doing that and shitting
And
on
then flipping over. Yeah.
this, like
Well, here's the way I look at it.
up to
If
him.
Trump wins the election, Trump Digital or whatever the hell they call it that owns Truth Social is gonna go through the friggin' roof in
Mm,
terms of value, right? So it'll increase its share value over and above that, which then allows them to leverage 4x, 6x, 10x earnings, whatever, and go out along with a partnership with Musk
Mm.
who already has billions to go, you know what, let's go shopping. Let's go buy some shit,
mhm,
right? And Spotify did okay. Um, they didn't do well in the last quarter earnings. The previous 2 quarters they've done okay, which means to me that they're vulnerable, but they also have a very solid user base.
yes, they
Guess
do.
what? So did Twitter.
Right.
Right?
Strange, yeah.
And $45 billion later, it's owned by a guy who puts rockets into space and then brings them back down and is going to rescue people in, you know, stranded international space stations because NASA's overtasked. But just so that was my thinking in that regard, and it was funny because Trump is now out there. He did this Uniondale, New York event last night, which was
Right.
incredible,
That was good.
and then went off and talked to the little boy with the brain injury and is showing more of his human side. But then he, instead of going on Joe Rogan's show or someone of that ilk, went on to Fox News's Keebler Elf show with Greg Gutfeld, which I don't watch, and I watched it because of him. And of course, he lights up a room when he comes in anyway. I was very impressed with how he talked about things, his demeanor, and
Mm.
also his ability to go, you know what? If I'd done that debate a little bit better, I would have actually gone after the moderators and called them out, right? So he doesn't say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, but he goes, I could have done this a little bit better. That's his way of going
Mm.
about saying that.
Yeah, I mean, he took some shots from, Greg trying to make his, like, stupid jokes because he's just unbearable. Uh, and
Right.
instead of Trump getting upset, he kinda just would, like, brush it off and be like, "Oh, yeah, that's a good idea." Like,
Yeah,
"You
that's
should
good.
wear that belt on the golf course." Like, dude, shut the
Right.
fuck up. Like,
Right.
you're making a joke about me being assassinated. Like, read the fucking room, guy. But he did a
100%.
fantastic job. And speaking of fantastic jobs, I want to take this time to apologize and to admit defeat. Admit that I was wrong. Because for weeks, you have heard me harp on JD Vance. His
Mm-hmm.
eyeliner,
Yeah.
his unlikability, XYZ, him being the bad VP candidate, some of the stuff still a little relevant, but his performance on State of the Union on
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sunday,
Yep.
fucking phenomenal.
It was stellar, wasn't it?
It
That's
was
good. Good
Yeah.
for you, man. That's good for you. Yep.
best 15 minutes I've seen a politician have with one of those Democrat honeysuckers like
Mm-hmm.
Dana Bash. It's
Mm-hmm.
just throttling her. Like
Oh
she was
yeah.
so flustered. She
Mm-hmm.
was
Yep.
tripping over herself. She
Hmm.
couldn't get her words out. She kept trying to
Nope.
go back. Like I had to watch it again because it was so fucking satisfying to watch somebody put a
You went back for
stupid.
seconds.
I went back for seconds because it was a masterclass. He was well
Yeah.
spoken. He didn't raise
Yep.
his voice. He threw every point at a perfect point back in her face. And he deflected questions when he needed to and steered it
Yep.
back to A, B, or C. It
Yep.
was a masterclass. And
He has
JD
a good
Vance,
legal mind, and he's got the pitch of an opera singer.
yeah,
So yeah, I
he
was
effing
stoked. Yeah,
roasted her.
that's
And
great.
I am sorry, JD Vance, that I mistook you for a yokel. Okay, you're not. You handled your business, and I cannot wait to see
Yeah.
what you do with Walls. If you bring that performance
October 1st.
to the debate,
Hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
sky's the limit.
I got to admit though, I mean, I kind of straddled the fence with JD Vance because he was not my pick to begin with. But it's he didn't get off to a bad start. The media tried to play it that way over the cat lady thing and all that nonsense, which was said years ago. You know, but I have seen him speak, and I have the only issue I've ever had with him was just over this thing about certifying the votes. Should have just stayed out of that because you're just giving
Yeah.
the opposition ammunition. And I guarantee you that question is going to get or put to him during this debate. But I think he can handle that well. He's forthright, and he takes the incoming, and it just doesn't get to him. And I saw him on State of the Union, and Dana Bash, when she gets into it, it's always that, well, yeah, but and he just kept cutting her off. She never got to the butt, and he
And
just
Yep.
steamrolled her.
he kept bringing it back to her
Yeah.
about how she threw softball. He said, I find it interesting, Dana, that you had the vice president and Tim Walz
I
on,
know.
and you're giving him multiple choice. You're giving them multiple choice questions and then giving them the answer to it. Where you're asking me a question and I can't even get out my answer because you're too busy interrupting me. And if that's what you're going to do, why am I even here? And then at some point, they started talking about the cat memes, and he's like, "Yeah,
Right.
we had to create this story to bring light to this situation." She's like, oh, you said you created a story, you created this, you made it up. He's like, no, I did not create the 12 people and the other hundred thousands of people in my district that are telling me what's going on. I didn't create the Haitian invasion in Springfield, Ohio. What I did was create a story that you would report on, and you're reporting on it now, and it has been ignored, and now you're talking about it. So
Right.
if my job is about listening to my constituents, I am
Yeah.
always going to listen to my constituents over what the media says. And he looked like a guy of the people. She kept trying to fight for the establishment, like,
Right.
oh well, the mayor said this didn't happen, or well,
That's who
the
they
president
represent.
didn't happen. And he's
Hmm.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, the people are saying this happened. I get put in power by the people. They're telling me this is happening.
Yep.
Are you telling me I should listen to my constituents? And she's like, well, no, that's not what I
Right.
meant. That's not what
Right.
it was
In
perfect.
in the state where I'm a senator, yeah. No, it was perfect. It was perfect. Um, I have just a few minutes, and again, I apologize. My schedule got compressed on this trip, but I did not want to um, go without a show this week to talk to our viewers and have everybody kind of chime in when they can. I am very excited. I am very upbeat about where we're going in the next few weeks. I think that by the October 1st date for the VP debate, we're going to be about a week or 10 days out from really knowing on the ground how things are going to transpire and ultimately turn into a month later on the day of the election. I'm very excited about it. I'm very upbeat about it. What about you guys in the time we've got left? What is your feeling right now from what you're reading, what you're feeling, what you're thinking?
But right now, I've just kind of hunkered down. I mean, I'm always optimistic. I'm always thinking, okay, these are the circumstances, the situation today. How can we make things better? So I'm thinking through Trump. They're just again, keep pressing the issues, doing
Yep.
doing that event like you did in Uniondale last night. It creates a big picture that the
Yep.
media can't deny, and he gets to say what he wants. Just don't give them a talking point. You've got
Right.
the issues. Just keep hitting those. What are they going to do? They're going to say the economy is great? No. They're going to say that the border is secure? No. They're going to say crime is, well, they may say crime is down, but that's a whole nother story. But again, like I said, I feel as if, and I want to get into what happened in 2016 and the polls and everything else, but I do believe that there's just this groundswell out there of people who had enough of 3.5 years of this, don't want to continue with Kamala, to say the least, and are giving Trump another opportunity to kind of make the case and seal the deal. I think if he does that, if his last 3 or 4 weeks of this campaign are somewhat like they were in 2016, where he wasn't making headlines every day with what he said, he was speaking to people directly and they responded, then I think he'll win. And I'm not going to predict, certainly not, I'm not predicting an electoral landslide, but I do think he's going to win a significant amount, or at least enough, to win the electoral college. And again, that's all that counts. And just beating the Democrats.
That's right.
Nope.
Rick, what about you, buddy?
Oh, well, I'd say it's three things. Steering towards positivity.
Yeah.
One, the ads. The ads have been really good. I've been satisfied with some of the ads that I'm seeing out here. They're doing a really good job of kind of painting the picture of Kamala uh, as she is. Number two, Kamala's doing a really good job of painting Kamala as she is. She's back to Kamala. You just put a microphone in front of her and she's just unbearable. So that's always a treat. And then number three, Trump's going to be at the Bama Georgia game.
Yeah.
Hello. That's
Yeah.
That's going to be
There you go.
insane.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to be.
Is that this coming weekend or next weekend?
I think it's next weekend.
Next weekend.
Okay.
Um, but
Because he's also in the next 2 weeks going to go to Springfield, Ohio, and Aurora, Colorado.
yeah,
Perfect.
which
Perfect.
will be perfect, and of course Kamala will be doing none of that. Shout out to the unions, the Teamsters that
Oh,
just said
bro,
we're not
body
in.
blow.
That was fucking a bomb dropped. Amazing. Then they took the poll, 60%
Right.
Yep,
voting for
yeah,
Trump. It's just like,
yeah. Well, that was a huge body blow.
as
Huge body blow.
long, yeah, as long as Trump doesn't get killed
Right.
before January 21st, uh, things are looking positive. And, uh, there's about a 85% chance that he'll make it as of now.
Right. Well, you
There's
guys are great as usual. I know this has been short today. I really just wanted to get this in and get some thoughts out there. Think about some of these other issues because we've got a lot to talk about next week. There is a lot going on, and I think we're going to be able to have a really robust next episode of Read the Room. But I really appreciate you guys as usual. Have a fantastic rest of the week, and thanks for always being there.
Absolutely.
See you
Have
next
fun in
week.
California. Be safe.
I will. Going surfing tomorrow.
Oh
Later.
boy.
Bye.